G.I. Griffin here on another Advisor Insight lecture. Today, we're talking about the psychological difference between consumers and builders. Modern society, it produces way more consumers than builders. And that's mainly because people are trained to consume. They consume information, entertainment, products, opinions, identity, rather than actually create, lead, solve, or build things. Right. So it trains you to consume because that is essentially how it runs. And the psychological difference between consumers and builders is not necessarily intelligence. A lot of people would think that that's the first thing, but in reality, it's actually an orientation towards reality. Do you see reality as it is, or do you try to escape it? So consumers, they primarily seek comfort. Stimulation, validation, escape. That's why all of these brands and businesses constantly try to sell you that. That's the reason why on social media you have to make these posts that give people these things: comfort, stimulation, validation, escape, entertainment, because it's what is rewarding that type of behavior, consumer behavior. Builders, they mainly seek actual control, right? Trying to take action, problem solving, and long-term outcomes. They try to get results, right? That's an entirely different type of mindset. And those two people have very, very different lives, as we'll go into in a second, right? So you need to keep that in mind as I'm moving forward. I'm going to be comparing these two. A lot of people may feel uncomfortable with that, but it's my position to try to go ahead and give you some insight on different realities or different perspectives in terms of things that you can use to grow. So first pattern, consumers, they tend to passively react to the world, right? They kind of go along with it, go with the flow. Okay, where's this? Okay, where's that? This new trend, I'll switch to that. Builders, they actually shape it. They're the ones leading it. And consumers, they'll often wait for permission, right? They'll wait for some type of motivation to push forward, or some type of certainty or ideal conditions. They're waiting. When's the time for me to act? And someone let me know? What's the indicator? But builders, they move regardless of uncertainty, struggle, obstacles, whatever it is. It's time to go. We need to get this done, right? So something that they'll call agency. Do you have some type of push, some type of drive that makes you want to go and get it done? Well, I'll tell you, if you are a worker and you're trying to go into business, you're trying to start your own business, you're going to need to develop this. You need that drive to be able to push when things become tough or uncertain or scary. You have to have that in order to push your business forward and your brand and develop something so that you can actually support yourself and your family and your life. Another pattern, consumers, they prioritize short-term emotional reward, right? So short-term gain, I feel good, versus builders tolerating discomfort for long-term outcomes, for results. I talk about that often. Whether you are trying to get short-term gains via I feel good, validation, comfort, or am I going to tolerate some discomfort and actually get some results? It's the mark and the difference between a mature individual and a child. Someone who has grown up and realizes, you know what? I need to do this anyways. This is going to hurt right now, but it's going to be a much better investment for my future. So I'm going to do it anyways. Another pattern, consumers, they kind of absorb like trends, opinions, and narratives. They take that on. It becomes their reality, whether it's true or not, right? That is, again, another emotional response. You're seeing a pattern here, being emotionally led or logically led. Builders, they develop independent judgment. So it's not so much about, is this what everyone else is doing? Is this the newest trend? Is this the thing that feels exciting in the moment? Again, difference between a child and a mature individual. Someone who understands that I need to create within this world in order to get a result. And that result is a better life for myself and my family. Or I can sit and I can scroll on feeds and social media and just consume. Right. And that leads to the last little pattern. Consumers, they spend most of their time watching, consuming. Builders spend most of their time creating. You're either going to watch and take on something within your perspective, become that eventually, right? to some extent, you take that on, it becomes your world, your reality, or you're out creating reality for yourself and for other people. That's a big deal when it comes to later on within your life, because you're either sitting and watching it go by or you're making it happen for everyone. Which one would you rather be? Now, some of the consequences of just blindly going and consuming things all the time is that consumers, they often feel powerless because they have to depend on external systems, different trends, and approval for direction. You are dependent on tons of things that are external, right? You're not leading your own life. People who only consume, they frequently also overestimate their own knowledge, but they end up kind of lacking in real world ability. I see that one a lot because you have so much access to internet and information and technology today that it makes you feel like, oh yeah, I got all this stuff done. You know, I'm a master of that. I know how to do that. No. You use the computer for like 95% of that, right? You need to be able to develop that real world ability, and you're not going to do it if you're sitting there consuming all day, right? Also, brands and professionals, they often get trapped in kind of consumer psychology, and they tend to end up imitating instead of innovating. So they'll like follow trends late, they'll copy their competitors, and then they'll struggle to actually develop any type of like, you know, clear identity or authority within their field. Right? So brands and professionals can fall into that as well. You know what? I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing. I see that a lot. A lot of times when I'm interacting or working with a client and it's for their business, their brand, and for the strategy that they have, they want to do the same best practices that everyone else is doing. And I'll tell you directly why that usually doesn't work. One, it's overcrowded. Everyone else is doing it. It's going to be really hard to stand out. Two, probably don't have the budget to compete with all the major brands doing that. Right? It's not just good enough to go ahead and do on this best practice that everyone's doing. You need to make sure that you can have an advantage. So you need to be able to look and think outside of this is what everyone else is doing to what can I do to lead the market, right? Consumer versus builder. Also, builders spend a lot of time accumulating leverage, right? Their skills, they're getting their systems together, their networks, their reputation, their assets, their experience. Over long periods of time, that gap between consumers and builders, it becomes massive, right? Economically, psychologically, and socially. So they put in the work and the investment to gain these skills and that leverage and that advantage. And at the end of the day, after it's been 10 years, that's a very big gap for someone who did not. Right? It's like compounding interest. Did you put forward on your investment? Was it a wise investment? Is it paying you for what you put in? To give like a very simple explanation here, builders, they create opportunities and consumers wait for opportunities. Don't wait for your opportunity. Get out there and actually create it. No one else is going to do it for you. So you know that I like to get into the real, show you some of the patterns, show you some of the consequences, but at the same time, I do like to give solutions. I like to give you that path forward. That's my job as an advisor, right? So solutions: shift from passive consumption to intentional creation. Instead of consume, watch, try and make something. Change someone's world, change someone's life, build something, right? You may not succeed immediately. It may take some time. You may fail really, really badly, but it's okay. That's a part of it. Sometimes just do it just for fun. It allows you to develop the skills and develop the tenacity for you to push forward in future things. It's still an investment in your future. Also, reduce unnecessary distractions. Comparison, dependency, reduce all of those things. A lot of those things are on social media. So yeah, probably reduce social media. You need to put yourself in that environment, in which case building is the expectation or the standard, rather than surrounding yourself with people who are constantly consuming as the norm. Spend more time developing ideas, your skills, your systems, businesses, knowledge, and your capability. Take the time to develop those things. You don't just become a builder. You have to gain skills first. You have to gain some knowledge, some resources, right? Connections. You got to take the time to actually build that. So start that right now. And this one's going to be a tough one for some people, but you need to develop independent thinking. Instead of relying on constant external validation from everywhere else, things that make you feel good, right? Be able to think on your own. This used to be taught in schools, and it was called critical thinking. Taking time to think critically about a particular situation so you can have a better outcome, right? It takes practice. So again, start that now. Also, learn to tolerate boredom, right? That's a huge part of why people are constantly scrolling. They're bored. They want something to do, and they want to escape from, say, uncertainty, and they don't have an ability to really delay gratification. They're just trying to get that emotional hit. So instead, practice some tolerance of discomfort. Separate yourself from that. Give yourself some time away. Right? Learn to tolerate that. Watch yourself become a lot more strong in that regard. And the goal it's not to eliminate consumption entirely, right? Like builders, they'll still study, they'll learn and observe things. But the difference is that builders use consumption as fuel for their execution and their ability to act, rather than as an escape from reality. That's the big difference. Am I going to use this tool to try to build something, or as motivation to execute, or as a resource or a tool, or am I going to use it to escape reality so I don't have to face it, so that I don't have to tolerate discomfort? Builders are people who take responsibility for shaping their reality instead of endlessly consuming someone else's. GI here on another Advisor Insight lecture. If you want more insights, make sure you go to gigriffin.com.